Hi there, this is Sandra from the Schwowin's Nest. Thanks for joining me today. I've got some Dollar Tree cuties for you, and I'm going to start off by using this pumpkin that actually came from Dollarama. It's a self-standing wooden pumpkin, but that galvanized metal piece that you see there is definitely from the Dollar Tree, and that was a find just not too long ago. Anyhow, I'm going to give this pumpkin just one coat of white chalk paint. I'm starting out by building a base. I'm using one of the long wood planks from the Dollar Tree, and I'm also using some of their tumbling tower blocks. I'm going to be gluing them on the skinny side up, so they're the taller side, all the way across the back. The blocks didn't fit 100%, so they're sticking off the edge just a little bit, but I tried to make it as even as possible on both sides. I've flipped the wood piece down so you can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to be gluing the galvanized piece right on top of the tumbling tower blocks. I'm going to also make sure that I glue down the part with the holes because I don't want to be able to see that. The other thing I had done ahead of time was taken my needle nose pliers that you can see here, and I flattened out the bottom piece so it would sit better on the blocks. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the tumbling tower blocks on the front of the galvanized sign. So I'm sandwiching the sign in between the blocks and it will stand up nice and sturdy. I'm going to give this little stand some feet. So I'm using some of these larger blocks and I'm going to glue them down just a little bit past the edge of the wood plank, but right in line with the tumbling tower blocks at the back. I'll do the same thing for the other side. I do have some wood stain, but I decided to water down some burnt umber paint that I did pick up at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just putting it on with a brush. And I just spray in as much water as I need, and I'm not even going to need to wipe any of this off. It's going to soak up right into all of that raw wood. Using the leftover paint, I'm just going to fill in the stem. I'm going to do a little bit of dry brushing around the edges, and then I'm going to take some of the paint and just go in the direction of a pumpkin. So just giving it more of a 3D look by dry brushing in a rounded manner, as you see me doing here. I also wanted to give the edges of this galvanized piece a little bit of a rusted look. So I'm just taking the same paintbrush, the same burnt umber, and I'm just kind of dabbing it and dry brushing it and making it look like it's very rustic, very not patterned at all. So just kind of really rough around the edges. I wanted to use a stencil for this little pumpkin, so I decided to create a design on my Cricut app, and I just designed Hello Fall. I took one of the words that was already pre-built in the Cricut design space, and then I just added the word hello on top of it. I'm using a makeup sponge and my favorite acrylic honey brown paint, which is sort of a rustic orange color. It's not really bright, and I really love it for the fall season. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it a good stenciling and then peel off the vinyl. I decided that I wanted my letters to pop a little bit more, so I'm taking my black fine tip Sharpie and I'm drawing some shadow lines on the left side of each letter. This is just making it consistent and it looks really nice this way. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I just like having a two-dimensional color sometimes. While I still had a little bit of that honey brown paint on my sponge, I decided to go ahead and give this galvanized piece even more of a rusted look around the edges. So I'm just dabbing in the whatever's left and adding some more color. With the burnt umber and the honey brown, it really looks like rust. Before I assemble this, I decided to add a little bit of jute rope around the stem of the pumpkin. I'm not filling it up all the way because I'm going to be adding some white pipberry garland and that will fill in some of the holes. So I'm just going to be using some hot glue to hold everything in place. If you are new to my channel and you like what you see, I'd love for you to stick around a while by hitting that subscribe button. It really helps my channel grow, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Using the white pipberry garland, I'm going to wrap it around my finger and make that curly Q that you see on pumpkins. Just stretch it apart a little bit and then glue it to the back of the stem. Now it's time to assemble all of these pieces and put them together to make a super cute little arrangement. I am going to use some of the Spanish moss from the Dollar Tree. I usually don't like to use it because it's so messy, but I have found that if you just grab it like I did and cut a section off, you don't have to make so much mess. I'm just going to use some hot glue and glue that down to the back of the tumbling tower blocks just to fill in that area. Then I glued the wood pumpkin right down to the tumbling tower blocks and to the bottom shelf. Now, if you watch my channel a lot, you know that I don't do a lot of things that are centered. I like to put things off to the side. Then I started looking at this sort of black-eyed Susan, Daisy, I don't know what this would be called, but you can see me just sitting here thinking about it. And although it's super pretty with the colors, I decided against using that. And I'm going to just embellish this with some pumpkins, some acorns, some little mini pumpkins, some more leaves, and pipberry garland. You can see I was trying that darn flower again. But in the end, I really love how this turned out with all of its little embellishments. I think it's an adorable piece to display for the fall season. My second project is using this faux wood frame from the Dollar Tree. It's an 8 by 10, and I printed off this sort of botanical looking acorn print, and I'm going to be cutting it out, but I'm leaving about 1.5 inches all the way around the sides. I'm gluing the acorn picture right to the back of the frame. So this is the cardboard backing that you would take out, but it's going to really help stabilize what I'm going to be doing next. I'm cutting off some strips of drop cloth fabric and I'm going to fray the edges just a little bit, and I'm going to be gluing those down to create a mat for this botanical print. And I thought this would be a really pretty idea, sort of vintage and rustic, but still give you a little bit of a farmhouse look. I'm going to do the top and the bottom first, and then I'll glue the side pieces on so they go right on top of the top and bottom pieces. Make sure when you're working with fabric that you have the proper tools. You want to have some fabric shears. Believe me, they cut so differently than regular scissors. So if you like working with fabric, make sure you grab some fabric shears. The last thing is just to trim off all the excess fabric, put it back in the frame, and you've got a beautiful piece of artwork to display for the fall season. My last project is a bit of a trash to treasure. I've got an old coffee can and I'm just going to give it one rough coat of my DIY chalk paint. While I wait for the can to dry, I'm going to get ready to do some tissue paper printing. This is one of my favorite ways to get images onto items. So I'm taking a piece of printer paper, which is on the bottom, and I'm taking my tissue paper. It's just white gift wrap from the Dollar Tree. I've cut it to be just a little bit smaller than the piece of printer paper, and I'm using some Scotch tape. I will tape it all the way around the edges, smoothing it out as I go. One of my subscribers gave me a fantastic idea. She said, since you've got the Dollar Tree calendars finally, why not make copies of them and then you'll have tons of different projects to use them for. What a fantastic idea. So if you've got that Dollar Tree calendar and you love to use those different pictures for projects, go ahead and print them off, make What I did is I scanned this one first. Then I took it to my Google Drive. So I scanned it as an image using my printer and computer. I took it to Google Drive and I resized it. And this way I've got a beautiful little farmhouse truck that's going to fit right on top of my coffee can. The other one is about twice the size, so I didn't want to put that on here if this one is going to fit perfectly. I'm using Mod Podge to apply it. So a thin layer goes down on my project first, then I'll lay down the tissue paper and very gently start pushing it in using my brush. Now, if something folds over on you like that, no worries, you can just fix it. Make sure that your brush is always nice and wet with Mod Podge, otherwise you will tear the tissue paper. Since my can is white and the paper backing on this print is a little bit more rustic, it's got some grays and some wood grain through it, I decided to just take a stiff brush and some gray chalk paint, and I'm just going to go ahead and dry brush it and make it blend in a little bit better. I wanted a lid for this canister because I thought I would use it for tea bags or for coffee pods out on my counter for the fall season. I didn't have anything lid looking, so I went out to my garage and I found a scrap piece of wood, and now I'm going to be just staining it with a maple gel stain. I love using gel stains because they're water soluble and they come off your hands really easily. You could also use the burnt umber or any type of brown paint and water it down a little bit, or you could just apply it and wipe it off right away before it sets in. This is just a round that I cut out using my jigsaw. It's not 100% perfect, but I'm okay with that. So here I've got it sitting on the can. You can see a little bit of missed areas there where I cut it a little too small, but that's okay. Nobody's really going to be looking at it from this angle anyhow. I'm adding a tiny little bit of Spanish moss, and then I've got this sweet little green pumpkin that I'm going to squish down, and he's going to become my decorative knob for my canister. I wanted to embellish the bottom a little bit, so I'm taking some of this ticking stripe that has a khaki green color. It's just the perfect complement to the green that I have going on with this project. I really like this. Super easy, super fun, Dollar Tree calendar pictures that I can use over and over again. I'm so excited and I'm really happy with how this turned out. I hope you enjoyed these fall Dollar Tree DIYs and got some inspiration to start crafting some of your own home decor. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. That tells YouTube you like what I'm doing and they promote me more, which helps my channel grow. If you're still with me, don't forget to click on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next one.